Jamil O'Quinn is our preacher for the day. Yes. He can read, he can write, he has a loving family, he's a member of the greatest fraternity in the world. Throw that in there. But Jamil is a graduate of University of California, Berkeley, Princeton Theological Seminary. He's currently working on a degree at Loyola Marymount. Southern California native. He's traveled extensively. And all of that, I think, can be impressive on its own. But when I met him just not that long ago, immediately was drawn in by his spirit. Very open, eager, gleeful. I'm like, who is this? Then I found out he had some seminary training. I said, oh, okay, now I'm getting it. And then I got a little bit of his story, and I said, oh, there's a call in there somewhere, too, that he's trying to work out. Like, oh, okay, now I understand. Now I understand. And almost sight unseen, I'm like, well, we're going to get you scheduled at Grace, because you need to be working this out and figuring it out. And for me, it's really about honoring those who have always made space for me. When I was trying to figure out who I was and who God was calling me to be and how God wanted me to live out ministry, there were some people in some places who said, come along, here's an opportunity. And I didn't even know how, oftentimes I didn't even know how to fully receive the gift that was being offered. But I tried to make the most of it. And now that I find myself an older man, space to provide opportunities for others in the same way that was provided for me. It would be sinful, wrong, and just an out-and-out tragedy and travesty for the world for me not to do the same for my brother and my friend and all the others that God shall send our way.
First, I want to say thank you to Pastor Cedric for opening the opportunity. It means a lot. It's a monumental step in my own personal journey, so I say thank you. Second, I want to say thank you to the friends and the family that are here to support, the co-workers, the fraternity brothers, people that have known me when I had hair that was all over the place and unsure of where I was going with my life. Thank you. Thank you. So you heard the word of God today, the story of Joseph. But before I dive deeper into the text, it's very interesting. We got these shells to remember baptism. Before we dive into the text, I want to use this as a symbol. If you have one, use this as a symbol. And I want you to take a moment. You can write it down. I'm kinesthetic, so I have to write. You can just bring it to the frontal lobe of your mind. But I want you to quickly reflect or write down or bring to the front of your mind a promise or a dream or a vision that you know that God has placed on your heart. And this shell is representative of that. We saw in the text that Joseph had not one, but he had 2 dreams. And then if we skip ahead to chapter 42, the dream comes to pass. In the land of Egypt, his brothers come, they bow down to him because they were seeking food in a time of famine. The dream came to pass. Even if you have a child, they have a shell. That's where our dreams usually start. So reflect on the dream. It could be a childhood dream. It could be a new promise placed upon your heart in 2020. But nonetheless, a promise or a dream you know was given to you by God. Because as we enter into a new year, we're bombarded with messages and reminders and resolutions and reboots and reclamations. We have vision boards, and at this time of year specifically, everyone has proclaimed and has been preaching a message of 2020 vision. Clear sight, dreams coming true. I expect great things. And for the most part, the rhetoric has us all fired up. Then often by the end of January, and for some, the second week of January, we fall back into the same routines. We fall back into the same habits and the same modes of thinking from the previous year, only to wishfully anticipate the next year, which is 11 months away. So my hope today is to inspire you to avoid the cyclical nature of failed resolutions and delayed manifestations as I speak on the topic, I had 2020 vision until ... Let me take a moment to pray. Dear God, I come before you today thanking you for placing the mantle on me to share your word. Lord God, I ask that you align my eyes with your eyes, you align my mouth with your mouth, you align my ears with your ears so that the people can hear a word from you and they can see you. Allow me, Lord God, to step aside so that your word can go forward. I thank you and I do not take this lightly. I give you the honor, I give you the glory. Amen. So as it's been said, I'm in my second year of film school. I'm studying screenwriting at Loyola Marymount. I promise this is my last degree. And in screenwriting, we learn a technique called film sequencing. 8 sequences, 3 acts. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Full of ups and downs, plot twists, reversals, and resolutions, but nonetheless, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. When we meet Joseph in this passage in chapter 37, we meet him in what screenwriters would call Act 1. It is the status quo of Joseph's life, his day in and day out routine. And in this day in and day out routine in chapter 37, we learn that he's only 17 years old. Clearly, he was active in the family business. He was active in his family with herding sheep, which, ironically, when I look at who God has called, it seems like in the Bible, it seems like herding sheep tends to be a common profession. Joseph is said to be the favorite of his father Jacob, also known as Israel. We also learn that Joseph's relationships between his siblings, it's less than great. They hate him. They're jealous of him. They're a little bit envious. Some would read the text and they would be able to say, I can see why. He seems a little, arrogant, pompous. But most importantly, we learn that Joseph is a dreamer. He has clarity of thought in his destiny. In essence, he has 20/20 vision. And yet, it is his dreams that services as the inciting incident that catalyzes every event of his life for the rest of his life. It's his ability to dream and to have 20/20 vision about his ending that activates his purpose. But it is also his dream and his ability to dream that activates every antagonistic opposing force to his vision. After reading chapter 37 as the audience, we are left with one question on our minds as it relates to Joseph. Will his dream come true? Will his brothers and his fathers bow down to him? Even more so, will his mother, whom has already been dead for some years by this time, bow down to him? Now, if I were Joseph, at this point, if my dead mother showed up and bowed down to me, I don't know if this would be a dream or a nightmare. But, nonetheless, we beg the question, will Joseph's dream come true? So we skip ahead 5 chapters and we get our answer, a definitive yes. Joseph steps into his kingdom position as vizier to the Pharaoh of Egypt, and his brothers do, in fact, bow down to him. He dreams. The Lord brings it to pass. The end. We can pray the benediction. We can get to brunch. Amen. My job is done. And we can go. If only it were that easy. Because in between chapter 37 and 42, there's 20 years time that separates Joseph having his initial dream and the manifestation of his dream. So for the sake of today's sermon, what intrigues me the most is the 20 years in between. The middle. The unknown journey. As the choir said, the preparation. In film structure, the middle is the hardest part to write as a writer. And it's hardest part for the audience to watch at a movie. So if someone is going to fall asleep in a movie, and some people fall asleep every movie, it's usually at this middle part. And for some people, it's like clockwork. Right in the middle of the movie, they start calling on the hogs, they start drooling, they start snoring, and there goes the middle. It is in the middle of our lives where we decide to stick it out or to abort mission. It is in the middle where our faith is tested and tried and makes us doubt the manifestation. It is in the middle where we see that Joseph had many opportunities to throw in the towel and say, I had 20/20 vision until ... We read, now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his children. He was allegedly, so Joseph was allegedly Israel, his father Jacob's favorite son. So although that Joseph was the second to the youngest, he was the oldest son of Rachel. This is the wife of 4 that Jacob truly loved. Joseph was conceived when Jacob was around an age when we don't think that people are having relations with the outcome of making babies. Furthermore, Joseph was also conceived to a mother that was barren. We also learn Joseph was given the most expensive clothes. His father gave him a coat of many colors. He was dressed the best out of all of his siblings. And at this time, to have a robe that had red and purple dyes, it was a sign of opulence at this time in this part of town. As some of my friends would say, Joseph, when he put on his clothes, he was walking the dog. But we read on, and herein lies the tension that I'm trapped in between Jacob and Joseph and the promises of God manifested through Joseph's dream. In 37 verse 9, it says Joseph had a dream, had another dream, the second of 2. But when he told it to his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him and said to him, "What kind of dream is this that you have had? Shall we indeed, I and your mother and your brothers, bow down to the ground before you?" His father rebuked him for dreaming. One translation, as you heard, his father scolded him. When I look at the word in Hebrew for rebuke, it's gaeth. It's a verb. It's an action to corrupt. Jacob actively corrupted Joseph for dreaming. So in my contemporary mind, this just doesn't sound like being your father's favorite child. But to be fair to Jacob, in the culture of this time, the hierarchy of the family structure was set. There were systems in place. You didn't go against your parents. You fell in line with every aspect of your father's life. You even took on your father's same profession. So to say your father would bow down to you was counterculture. Similar to centuries later, I'm recalled of a man named Jesus who was born in a lonely town of Nazareth, proclaiming to be the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, that would be the salvation into the world. Kind of like that counterculture. But I still can't let Joseph off the hook, because when I read further into 37, verses 13 and 14, it says, "And Israel," meaning Jacob, sorry, I can't let Jacob off the hook, "And Israel," meaning Jacob, said to Joseph, "Are not your brothers pasturing the flock at Shechem? Come, I will send you to them." Joseph answered, "Here I am." So he said to him, "Go now, see if it is well with your brothers and with the flock, and bring word back to me." So he sent him from the valley of Hebron. Joseph is Jacob's favorite son, but he sends him from Hebron to Shechem. Sends Joseph alone on a 49-mile trip to Shechem to spy on his brothers that hate him for spying on them in the first place. Once again, I'm caught in the tensions of wondering, how is Joseph Jacob's favorite son? Mostly because why would he send Joseph to Shechem? For Jacob to send one of his sons to Shechem, this was one of the most dangerous places he could have sent his sons. Because in chapter 33 and 34, we learned that Jacob's sons, Simon and Levi, had murdered all the men in Shechem and plundered all of their riches because a man named Shechem in the city of Shechem raped their sister Dinah. Now, you ask me, I'm kind of team Simon and Levi in this situation because I have one sister and I would go to jail easy if you even looked at her wrong. That's, God is working on me, I guess. Because I would go to jail fast. But Jacob knew the people of Shechem had it out for them. Earlier on it says, "You have brought trouble on me by making me to the inhabitants of the land. My numbers are few, and if they gather themselves against me and attack me, I shall be destroyed, both I and my household." Jacob knew the dangers of this place, Shechem, for his family, and he knew the danger for his family and the danger he knew for his sons. But yet he corrupted Joseph's dream, then sent Joseph to Shechem by himself to connect with his hateful brothers. Which brings me to the first point. I had 20/20 vision until my dad or my mom or my father figure or my mother figure rebuked or corrupted my dream, which sent me into harm's way. Then the Jacobs of our lives are the unintentional antagonists. They mean good. They love us. They elevate us to high places. They provide for us. until the dreams and the visions that God has for our lives doesn't fit into the systems and molds and limited expectations in which they desire to confine us with, until our dreams, in essence, become counterculture. They aren't spiteful. It's not premeditated. It's just different. Moving on. So Joseph goes to Shechem and his brothers aren't there. So he's traveled 49 miles with some people that hate him and his brothers aren't there. A random man sees Joseph wandering around and he questions him, bro, who are you looking for? And Joseph says, I'm looking for my brothers. And clearly the man knows exactly who they are. And he says, well, I was ear hustling and apparently they took everything to Dothan. And of course, I'm paraphrasing in my own language. And I had to stop there again. Because I'm wondering, one, why is Joseph on the journey in the first place? Two, when he sees that his brothers are not in Shechem, why didn't he go home? Three, why is he talking to a random man knowing the potential danger upon him in this city? Furthermore, Dothan is another 14 miles away, and Joseph continues on. Mind you, this is all hill country, so Joseph had to be getting a huge workout because this uphill journey took days. They didn't have cars, they didn't have airplanes, he was walking. And then Joseph finally catches up to his brothers after traveling 62 miles from Hebron. And as they see him in the distance, they said, "Oh, Brian, come on, we missed you." Yeah, right. Here comes the dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits. Then we shall say that a wild animal has devoured him, and we shall say, what will become of his dreams? Which brings me to the next point. When we look at our visions and our dreams, and we say, I had 20/20 vision until my brothers, until my sisters, until my good friends set out to sabotage the dreams and the calling on my life. The ironic thing about this here, to me, is they set out to sabotage Joseph's dreams. And if they were successful in sabotaging Joseph, they would have sabotaged their own survival. Because it was Joseph that ended up being the conduit that poured the grain back into their lives to where their family was able to survive. With our dreams, you have to know that there are intentional antagonists that see your calling and they make intentional plans to ruin you and your dreams. They say, here comes that dreamer. These are the folks that always have something negative to say about your ideas. They see you and all they can see is what they aren't getting in their own lives. This is the person that sounds somewhat like this. Well, let me play devil's advocate. Beware of this person. Because, in the words of Maya Angelou, they can be showing you exactly who they are. An advocate of the devil. Yet and still, Joseph clearly loved them and wanted their validation because he went out of his way to reconnect with them. It was like he was trying to fit in, like he was trying to gain acceptance. And for myself, I've always wondered, why do I care so much about being accepted by people who show perpetual signs of having no concern about the visions and calling on my life? So Joseph chased after his brothers, and it resulted in him being stripped of his clothes, thrown into slavery not once, but twice. He was sold first to the Midianites, who then sold him to the Egyptians. So by this point, Joseph has had two dreams. He's sold into slavery 2 times and now has 2 justifiable reasons to say, I had 20/20 vision until ... My daddy corrupted my dream and sent me into harm's way. My brothers sold me out and tried to kill me, thus attempting to kill the dream. But we get to Egypt, and things are looking on the up and up. All the hardships that Joseph faced in the presence of his family, no longer being there because he's been separated from them, are no longer. And because of Joseph's diligence to God, he finds favor for the 2nd time and is given rank in the Egyptian empire. And being that Jamil was Joseph, sorry, I think I'm speaking Arabic. Let me translate this. Being that Joseph was handsome, he caught the eyes of his boss's wife. You better know what your name means. I know what my name is. You better know what your name means. But that's the text. The text says Joseph was handsome. So Joseph was Jamil, you know? He caught the eyes of his boss's wife. He was doing his job right. She said he was looking good, and he caught her eye. She's given a very memorable name called Potiphar's wife. She has her eyes cast on Joseph as a lust interest. And after Joseph has 2 encounters with dodging her sexual advances, she rips his clothes, accuses Joseph of rape, and Joseph finds himself back where he started, locked up, and they won't let him out. It's very interesting. I noticed it's just every time he gets stripped of clothes, he ends up in a real tough situation. You know, I would just say, keep your clothes on. But I see Joseph in a conundrum at this point. I had 20/20 vision of him saying for his 3rd reason, I had 20/20 vision until this woman came into my life and messed it all up. I see Joseph saying that. And I don't think Joseph is the only one with this testimony. You had 20/20 vision until this woman or man came into your life and messed it all up. They were attracted to you personally. They were attracted to the power of your profession. They were attracted to the charisma of your calling. But when they couldn't get what they wanted from you, they used their own position to persecute your personhood. And you found yourself in bondage to your own broken heart. Locked up, and it won't let you out. 2 dreams. Sold into slavery 2 times. 2 times he was shown favor. 2 times Joseph has been stripped of his clothes, and both parallel the stripping of his rightful place in the kingdom and hurling him into captivity, leaving him with yet another reason to say, I had 20 vision until ... So let's go back to our shelves. Let's go back to that dream that we wrote on the paper, or the dream that we're envisioning. We all have a dream, a vision, a promise that God has given us. We all have a beginning. We all know the end. We all have a middle that tests and trials our faithfulness to the promises of God. We all can say, I had 20/20 vision until ... I'm actually a huge fan of songs that are remixed. Not sure why, I just love them. So let me give you the remix to the version of this message. I had 20/20 vision until my mama and daddy corrupted my dream, but God. I had 20/20 vision until my brothers and sisters and friends set out to kill my aspirations, but God. I had 20/20 vision until this man or this woman stepped into my life and broke my spirit so bad I couldn't see which way was up, but God. But God sent his son, Jesus, the healer of broken hearts, the sustainer of fatigued future, the futures, the resurrector of dead dreams. God is not the father that let you down. God is not the mother that killed your spirit. God is not the sibling or the best friends that betray you. God is not the love interest that wasn't concerned about your best interest. God is the giver of promises, and with God's promises, God's providence is there to ensure that the promise comes to pass. I had 20/20 vision until ... but God. And so today, I encourage you to dream again. As we set out another year, don't let the dream die on the vine. With the promise of God comes the providence of God. No matter what you've been through, no matter what your friends and your family have said to you, no matter what trials will come your way, because they will come. But God. No matter what you have to face, no matter what the preparation feels like, because oftentimes the preparation for a king, it does not feel like it's fit for a king, because it's full of valleys, it's full of tears, it's full of people rejecting you, it's full of people saying bad things about you to slander your name. But God. So as we embark upon 2020, dream again. As we embark upon the visions that we set out for our lives, dream again. But then, I also have to hold myself accountable, because sometimes I've been the Jacob. I've been the brothers. I've been the Potiphar's wife. And that can hold you back and question the visions that God has for your life solely because of the guilt and the shame that you live with that keeps you from pursuing the promises of God. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Because as we see in the text, in spite of it being a 20-year preparation, God's word does not return null and void. Dream again. Know the promise that God speaks to you and hold on to that promise like none other. I look at my shell and it's kind of chipped. It's a little broken. And I look in the mirror and I look at my life. And I'm kind of chipped. And I'm kind of broken. I'm kind of hurting. I lay up at night and I cry. But one thing that I notice, in spite of the shell being chipped and broken, it is very much a shell. Nothing is going to change that. The destiny of this being the shell, it's a shell. Your brokenness and your pain is not an effector or a changer of the promise that God has for your life. Dream again. Dream again. Pastor Cedric comes up, there are some people who have been tossed and thrown all over to the point to where the dreams that they once had seem to be so far away. You feel like you're in the dungeon, the prison, locked up and won't let you out. Or you could literally be living in the middle of your dream. And you know that there is someone or there are people on that job. There are people in that space that have shown that they are very much a Potiphar's wife. And so as Pastor Cedric comes up and the music starts to play, anyone who wants to to reactivate their own 2020 vision, to confront that until ... so that you can get to the but God.
Somewhere along the way.
I say the altar is open. I transition this back to Pastor Cedric because with our dreams comes opposing forces. It's not too late to dream again. It's not too late to pick up the dream. It's not too late to pick up the business. It's not too late to pursue that career that seems like it's a dead end. It's not too late to write that book that's been on your heart. It's not too late to go deeper into that relationship. Dream again.
I knew you were coming. I didn't bake a cake, but I have a gift for you. Come on. You're not bashful. There's nothing bad, not a bashful bone in your body. Come on over here. But just in gratitude for your ministry, not just in the educational space, in the church space, but your education and presence within your family. I honor you and honor what you have gifted the world with. And so we present you with this 50th anniversary Black Methodist for Church Renewal commemorative Bible in honor of Gotcha.